Just the astounding numbers that BJP has been able to achieve. Did you anticipate the kind of numbers that they're rolling out?
No, frankly, I did not. From the exit polls, it was quite clear, and I said it on air, despite being an opposition leader, that there's no point in quarreling with these numbers, that NDA appears to be headed for a clear majority.
Right.
I did not anticipate that BJP by itself will achieve a clear majority. That's quite an astounding electoral achievement, something that has happened after 30 years in the country's history.
Correct.
And the BJP and Mr. Narendra Modi must be congratulated for that.
Right. I know that the Aam Aadmi Party had been stressing on the fact that how clean candidates are important, and that focusing on how the opposition parties had some candidates that had criminal track records. Do you think that the voter voted for the candidates, or did they vote for the face of the Prime Minister this time?
This time, candidate was not such a big issue. And while we managed to communicate our message, this did not become the decisive reason for people for voting. And in any case, it would be presumptuous on our part to say, here we have started a new politics, given you hope 2 months ago, and the whole country should change. It's a very large country, and political change in a country like this is a long-drawn process. We have taken the first step. It's a long road for us to walk. So I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining against the voters. They have given us a message. Maybe they are telling us, you are new, you need to work a little harder. Maybe they are saying, it's Lok Sabha election, I'll think about you in the Vidhan Sabha election. Maybe they are saying, this time I'll give a chance to Mr. Modi, I'll consider you next time. Whatever their message, we need to take that in our stride. We need to learn, we need to move forward.
So there is a bit of learning in the whole process. You're taking this as a learning process, this defeat?
Why a bit? I mean, there's huge learning. This is our first experience, and there is learning galore. I mean, we have learned. I have personally learned how little I knew about elections and politics.
Really?
So, yeah, of course. I mean, notwithstanding all those claims about expertise and so on, I really did not know very much about how elections are fought on the ground level.
And yet there was a lot of promise that was given to the voter. There was a lot of, the faith that the voter had put in the party. Did you feel that in the course of all this campaigning, what with all the ink throwing and whatever, the violence that came towards the party leaders, did you feel that the voter was getting disillusioned? Did you feel that coming? And is that being reflected in the numbers that you see now?
I do not see those violent incidents as anything to do with popular sentiment, because much of that was orchestrated. I think in the course of the election, the BJP was particularly very aggressive. I don't know, they probably were somewhat insecure. Looking at the numbers today, they had no reason to be insecure, but they probably did feel insecure, and there was enormous aggression which was directed not at the Congress. Much of the aggression was directed against us. But today is not the day to complain about those things. That was their way of contesting election. We tried to send a positive message in the country, and we will continue to do so.
Great. Now, while you say that they were being insecure and therefore putting in maybe that much more effort in every field possible, there is one criticism that comes to Aam Aadmi Party is that perhaps they were overambitious, overconfident. The fact that Arvindji decided to, take Modi head on. Could that have been translated as overconfidence? Could that have a negative impact on the voter, do you think?
In politics, ambition is a virtue, provided it's not a personal narrow ambition. Collective ambition is a virtue. For someone to have an ambition that we can rid this country of corruption, it is probably insane. But it's an ambition worth cultivating. I would like more insane people. I would like more ambition of this kind to be cultivated in this country. For far too long, we have lived with timid ambitions. India is like this only. Nothing can be done in India. We Indians will remain like this. I'm glad there's one Arvind Kejriwal who is ambitious, who says, no, we can change it.
And yet you concede that there were perhaps some mistakes that the party did. There were some mistakes like quitting on the 49th day or sitting on dharna while their own government was in power. Do you concede that there were some mistakes that the party made and that there is some learning from that?
We are novices in politics. We obviously do make mistakes. We have made more than one. You may have your list of mistakes. I may have my own separate list of those mistakes. Of course we make mistakes. And of course we learn.
So was the claim not that we can show you how to do it better? I mean, to the other parties?
Our claim was not that we are more clever than you. Our claim was we are more honest than you. And while we may have made errors in our judgment, in understanding of politics, we did not compromise on our honesty. And that's the plank with which we walk forward.
Correct. Now, I just want to ask you one last question. Is that, does Aam Aadmi Party change its stance from now on? Do you think that the people want to see more than dharnas? They want to actually see development, concrete actions, firm steps, instead of, asking for SMSs from the whole country? They want a decisive leader. Do you think that there will be a change in stance from the Aam Aadmi Party?
A verdict like this calls for reflection. We need to learn from our successes. We need to learn from our failures. We would have our own list of what the failures and successes were and why it happened. And it might be that the list may be somewhat different from your list. I'm sure you would concede us that.
Of course.
And of course we have a long way to go. Trying to change the way politics takes place in a large and complex country like this is not easy. And we are novices. We have to learn. Of course we have to learn a lot. And we shall. That's one thing I promise you. We'll sit down tomorrow. We'll begin to think. The one thing we do not want to learn is that nothing is possible in India. That's one thing we do not want to learn. We do not want to become practical.
Right.
We want to remain silly. We want to remain idealists.
Great, great. So looking forward to all that you guys do. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you.
That was Yogendra Yadav telling us that there's a lot to learn for the Aam Aadmi Party, and they're going to be taking their time in analysing all the mistakes that they made and all that they need to learn in the future. With camera person PK Das, this is Megha Mamgen.